Hey, everybody. Welcome to tonight's version of Slices of Success. I'm glad each of you are here. And as we get ready to get started with tonight's topic about how to harness the demons, those dragons of setbacks and setups and shortfalls and stressful situations to leap to our place where we really need to be, I want to just talk about three things really fast. Okay. The first one is simply this. Gosh, I would not want to be that group of people that are living on the East Coast right now with this storm that is just hovering off the coastline. It's just been hovering there and just looming in the distance. Maybe you and I should take a moment and just think about them. If you know somebody that's in that area, maybe you can reach out to them and offer them some help, offer them some hope, offer them something. I admire all those people that rather than loading up their boats and loading up their trailers and heading north or west, they're heading into this storm. And the reason that they're doing this is to serve everybody that's there. That's remarkable to me. I think they have your heart and my heart as they head in that direction. And so I wanted to take a moment, and if you're a praying person, if you know somebody specifically, maybe you could just take a moment and pray for them. Maybe you can attempt to reach out to them. If there's some way that you can help, I think that's a good idea. So let's just take a moment of silence. The second thing that I wanted to mention as we get ready to get started is a lot of people started school today. Some of you are in your second weeks and you are really seeing a lot of students. I want you to know that I admire you. I admire your tenacity to stand there in front of those students who in so many ways do not even know what it's like to show respect, show honor towards other people. And you're standing there wishing that they would show you that respect, and yet they don't know how. And I am so ecstatic about how that you do that for them, how that you mirror respect for them. And I honor you and I admire you and how you do that. The third thing that I wanted to just say is I'm excited about Ontario, California in November, the holiday weekend. California School Nutrition will be there in force. There will be hundreds of us there. And this year, it looks like I get to do 4 workshops. I'll be doing 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. I hope to see you. I hope that you'll be there with me and you'll be inside of each one of them. I'll be bringing several of my books because some of you may want to buy one. If things go off just right, I may have the release of another book if things go just right. We just have to see the timing of it. I may be bringing a copy of another book while we're there. So tonight, while I've got my Arnold Palmer here, and I wanted us to talk about how to harness these troublesome things that come in our lives, how to use them for their power. Because I really think, I'm really considering this, and I really want you to know that I believe that we have one of two things that we can do with these beasts of pressure, these beasts of stress, these beasts of anguish that come in several different disguises. Let me describe a couple of them, and you tell me if you know what I'm talking about, all right? There's the disappointments. Anybody here face some disappointments? If you've faced some disappointments, give me a thumbs up if you're on Facebook. If you're there on YouTube and you're watching us now, just comment, oh, I know what disappointments are all about. How about betrayals? Anybody here ever been betrayed? You ever been betrayed by somebody that you loved, that you cared for, that you had partnered with either in business or in a volunteer situation or in a relationship? You had a relationship with them. Maybe you were exclusively in that relationship with them and they betrayed you. or you were married to them and they betrayed you. Betrayal is such an ugly, nasty beast. Excuse me. How about illness? Anybody here ever get some illness? You ever get saddled with illness and you didn't raise your hand and say, I want to be sick. I want to have this situation in my life, and yet you've got it. Or how about breakups? How about being fired long before you believed you should have been fired? Or how about just plain old setbacks? You thought you was going to have one thing going one way, and then all of a sudden, bam, it goes a different way. Or how about sad scenarios? They're just sad to you. They're just sad things. Or how about financial shortfalls? Let me show you a sad scenario. And I hesitate to say this to you because I don't want you feeling sorry for me. My mom is going to be 80 years old here in a couple of days on September the 17th. And as a result of some choices in her life years and years ago, she's got emphysema and COPD in its extreme stages. As a result of that, she's got these compounding illnesses. And as a result of all those things, we had to put her in long-term care. For me, that's a sad scenario. I hate it that my mom is now living in a situation to where she's no longer in charge of her own life. She's no longer in charge of everything in her own world, and other people are having to take care of her. Yet, in the midst of that, she gets seen a minimum of 12 times a day. She gets all the medications she's supposed to have and on time, and she gets to eat on a regular basis. So these windows of pain, these windows of struggle, these scenarios that happen to us that are difficult, what do we do about them? How do we handle them? What do we do when those things happen to us? Do we curse about them? Do we complain about them? Do we puke on a regular basis about them? Or do we figure out how to come to a spot where they are portals, or as gifts of portals of grace in our lives? How do we come to this spot where they all of a sudden are something that comes into us and gives us opportunities? How in the world do we do that? How in the world do we do that, Brenda? How do we do that in such a way that we can grow from them? Or do we just let them be these things that constantly bring us pain, constantly bring us anguish, constantly harm us, constantly are a struggle for us? What can we do? I think it's our choice. I think it's our choice. I think we get to decide in business whether we move forward when we have a setback or we get set back. I think most of the time, depending upon our insight, depending upon our way of looking at it, we get to determine whether it's a setup for a great scenario or a setup for a sad scenario. You know, the job that you have, listen, it's called work for a reason. It's a 4-letter word. Did you hear what I said? It's a 4-letter word. And as a result of it being a 4-letter word, it's not supposed to be something that's always wonderful. It's not supposed to be something that's always great. There's supposed to be some times it comes with pain, that comes with anguish, that comes with heartache. There's supposed to be some times like that. And it's during those times where you and I get an opportunity to deal with it in such a way where it becomes this window or this portal of gifted grace to help us continue to go on. Now, what do I mean by gifted grace? Gifted grace is that energy that comes into our life, that energy that gives us insight to go forward in business, in our careers, in our job, in our relationships, where we volunteer. It's that gives us that open door of, if you will, creativity that we can go forward. You and I get to choose these things. You and I get to do that. It's an opportunity for everybody. Yet, here's the deal. if I curse it all the time, if I find myself at Starbucks or a coffee shop or someplace where I'm always talking about how terrible it is, if every time I turn around, I'm telling people about how rotten things are, how sad it is, how terrible the neighborhood is, how terrible the officers are, the elected officials are, if I'm all the time talking about that, there's an energy that comes from that. Yet, if I will be still for a moment and think about it, then I'll be able to access an energy that turns all of that around to launch me to the place where I can move to what I call my leap zone, where I get to choose whether I languish in this or I leap to a better place. I leap to a place where I'm satisfied with my life. And let me just say something to you while we're here talking about this. I really don't think that happiness ought to be the goal in our life. I don't think that success ought to be the goal in our life. I think we need to tap into fulfillment. Am I fulfilled with what I'm doing? Am I captured by it? Am I ecstatic about what I do? Now, let me just tell you something. Listen to me. Lean in and listen to me. We think that our jobs just overbroke. Our jobs are supposed to bring us fulfillment all the time. I totally disagree with that. I know there's a lot of people out there that say, you can always be fulfilled on your job. I don't think that's the case. I don't think we're supposed to be fulfilled all the time on our job. In fact, I think that one of the reasons that many of us are bored at our job, we're unhappy at our job, is because we think it's supposed to bring us happiness. And it's not. What it does is bring us money. That's all it's meant to do. And what we do with our money can determine our level of fulfillment. Depending upon how fulfilled we are, will determine how happy and successful we are. And so we've got to ask ourselves, what fulfills me? For instance, if you're into abandoned Chihuahua dogs, okay? You go to work, you get some money, you invest in an opportunity that helps take care of Chihuahua dogs, and you'll find fulfillment in the Chihuahuas much more than you will in your job. All of us that work in school nutrition, wrapping chicken sandwiches is not fulfilling. Loading and unloading product is not fulfilling. What's fulfilling is that we get to meet students sometimes at their greatest need, and we get to we get to serve them our heart and food, and we get to do that. That's what's fulfilling, and that's where success can happen. So, what do we do? What do we do? Can we make a change in the way we look at things? Can we make a change in the way we look at things and see things in a different way? I want to challenge you. Move away from trying to find fulfillment in your job and what you do. Find fulfillment in the mission of what you do, and you will see something that transforms you. Let me just say one thing. Every school that I know, just about every school that I know, is shorthanded all the time. They never have a full complement of people working in their school restaurant. Yet I do know some of us that spend the entire time cursing that we don't have a full staff. In doing that, what happens is simply this. In doing that, we make it more difficult. We make it harder on ourselves because we're always focused on what we don't have. Yet what we do have is the greatness of each other. We have the greatness of each other. I think the same thing happens in relationships, romantic relationships. We fall in love with this person. Oh, we love them. Then after a while, what happens is we start seeing the differences and we start sort of cursing the differences. Yet it was the differences that drew us to them in the first place. It was those differences that drew us to them. So let me just give you 5 things and then we're out of here. Okay? 5 things. The first thing is this. If we're going to transform, if we're going to harness the beast, harness the dragon of disappointments, betrayals, illness, breakups, setbacks, sad scenarios, and shortfalls, if we're going to harness the energy, harness the goodness that's in there, then we're going to have to do 5 things on a regular basis. We're going to have to speak with gratitude and graciousness rather than griping more often. So many of us, gosh, I'm your friend, so lean in here. So many of us, if we didn't have gripe going on, there'd be nothing for us to say, okay? There'd be nothing for us to say. What we've got to do is speak with gratitude. Live in a gracious zone. The second thing that we've got to do is return the benefits that we've received. There's all sorts of benefits. We need to verbally return those benefits, and we need to monetarily return that. Somehow, some way, we need to be involved in something where we can return some of our monetary gain back into the ground. And then we need to accentuate the positive. We need to accentuate the positive. So the first thing is learn how to be grateful more than griping. Return the gracious gift that you've given. You've been given some money. Find a way to return that. You've been given some minutes. Find some ways to return that back into the ground of your culture, your community that's around us. And then accentuate the positive. Turn off the news. Find a way to accentuate the positive. And then call out the good things that you see. Call out the good things that you see around you. If you see all the bad things, and you do, let's just be honest, you do, okay? You do. And you wouldn't be able to puke. You wouldn't be able to barf as often as you do if you didn't see the bad. Now, if you have the ability to see the bad, if I have the ability to see what's wrong and what's bad, I also have the ability to see what's good. And so I need to call that out. I need to call that out on a regular basis. And then I need to energize other people. I need to energize other people to lift themselves up to their greatness, their graciousness. Now, how do I do that? It's not by telling them to do. I need to give them a mirror of what it's like. I need to be this person that when they look at me and they see me, they believe they can. And then when I see a smidge, now listen to me, lean in. Rather than waiting for perfection in other people and commenting on that, what I need to do is praise progress rather than positioning myself to only see the perfect. Because the truth is, here's the truth. There's nobody perfect. There's nobody perfect. We're all in the process. We're all in the process, aren't we? So praise progress rather than positioning yourself to wait for the perfect. So what have I said here tonight? The harness of sad scenarios, the energy that's in them, in setbacks and disappointments, and all of those shortfalls and all of those things, to harness that so that you can ride those and ride them to your own leap zone is simply this. You've got to be gracious, and you've got to grant graciousness out there rather than griping. You've got to give graciousness out there rather than gripe all the time. You've got to return some of the gifts that you've gained. You've gained at least 2 gifts. You've received the gift of minutes and money. So because you've been given minutes, give some of your minutes to some organization and volunteer and show up on a regular basis. It might be down at the local SPCA. It might be rescuing chihuahuas. It might be going down to the beach and helping pick up uh, things that are on the beach so they don't get out there in the ocean. Whatever you do it on a regular basis. There's some organization that needs your minutes and they need your monetary support. You've got more money. Do you know you make more money in a day than some people in the world make in a year? Find a way to give some of your money away. Okay? Be gracious. Return your minutes and your monetary in a volunteer way. Accentuate the positive is number three. And number four, call out the great things. Call them out. Call them out as though they are, even though they're not. My grandparents taught me that. My grandmother one time told me that when I was just a little boy, that they had decided to treat me as though I was what I would become even before I was. That they refused to treat me like I was acting. And they just treated me as though I was as what they believed I could be. And then engage and energize other people to be their greatness. When we do that, what happens is in doing that, we harness the dragons of disappointments. We harness the dragons of disappointments, setbacks, sad scenarios, and shortfalls, and they become the vehicle of greater grace. Greater grace, showing gratitude, returning our minutes and our monetary to other organizations and other people. Just got this tongue and I don't know what to do with it. It's not working just right. Being gracious, okay? Being polite to people, being gracious, returning our minutes and our monetary gain to other people, accentuating the positive, calling out those things that are not as though they are, calling out the greatness, and then energizing other people and engaging with them, engaging with other people. Listen, my name's Matt, and I'm your friend, and I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to spending time with you. I look forward to being like my friend Oral Hendricks and putting my hand on your cheek and my cheek next to yours and whispering in your ear how much I love you, how much I think of you. I believe you can be all that you dream of in your relationships, where you volunteer, and in your career. I truly do. You can reach me at 916-708-8103. You can call or text me there anytime. You can also email me at leap@mattupton.net. That's leap@mattupton.net. Listen, I appreciate you, and I hope that tonight you'll reach out to somebody and you'll let them know how wondrous they are to you. Show them some grace. I'll see you later.